I'm in a section of the Gulag Archipelago where Solzhenitsyn is describing a group of Soviet soldiers who found themselves in World War II in Sweden, and they experienced life in the West. It was wartime, but nevertheless, there was the abundance of Sweden, the technological sophistication of Sweden, the presence of people sitting in cafes and eating food. And the Soviet soldiers saw, wow, these people are living the kind of life that we don't have in our communist paradise. And so the Russian leadership, the Soviet leadership, knew this. So when these guys came back to Russia after the war, guess what? They are imprisoned. And you can infer that they were imprisoned both to teach themselves a lesson. They were probably praising the virtues of Western society. But second, so that they don't go around telling other people, hey, listen, guess what? All this stuff we're told about how horrible life is in the bourgeois societies, it's not even true. Those guys live far better than we do. Now, Solzhenitsyn now goes into what happened after that. And what happened after that is that obviously in Sweden and in the West, people find out that these Russian soldiers are now in prison. And so there are articles in the Western press about, wait a minute, you've got these Russian soldiers, they're fighting for the motherland, they're fighting against the Nazis, they're helping to defeat the Nazis, and what? Stalin has ordered them to be locked up? So there's outrage in the Western press. And says Solzhenitsyn, and now I'm reading, suddenly these soldiers were fed for 2 months as though for slaughter and allowed to let their hair grow. So instead of getting the kind of crew cut of a prisoner, you're allowed to have a normal haircut. They feed you as if you're a lamb fattened for the slaughter. Why? Because they're about to parade these same prisoners before the Western press. Then they were dressed with modest elegance, rehearsed on what to say and to whom, and warned that any bastard who dared to squeak out of turn would get a bullet in his skull. And then they were led off to a press conference for selected foreign journalists and some others who had known the entire crew in Sweden. The former internees, meaning prisoners, bore themselves cheerfully, described where they were living, studying, and working, and expressed their indignation at the bourgeois slander that they had read about not long before in the Western press. After all, Western papers are sold in the Soviet Union at every corner newsstand. And so they had written to one another and decided to gather in Leningrad. Their travel expenses didn't bother them in the least. Their fresh, shiny appearance completely gave the lie to the newspaper canard. The discredited journalists went off to write their apologies. It was wholly inconceivable to the Western imagination that there could have been any other explanation. So the Western press are suckers. They see all these guys. Whoa, wait a minute. They're not in prison. Wait, their hair's grown. They look like they're living normal life. They are very outraged that we have been slandering them like this in the Western press. And so they've gathered at their own expense to object to this. We better retract our stories. And then, of course, Solzhenitsyn continues. And then the men who had been the subjects of the interview were taken off to a bath, had their hair cut off again, were dressed in their former rags, and sent back to the same camps. But because they had conducted themselves properly, none of them was given a second term. So this is how police states operate. They operate by intimidation and threats. Hey, listen, you guys, you're angry at being confined in a prison camp, but we need you right now. And so we're going to fatten you up. We're going to dress you up. We're going to give you a script. And your script is to go out there and dispute the reports in the Western press. In other words, dispute the accuracies in the Western press and replace them with the lies that we're going to give you. The lie that you're not in prison, you're not in danger, you're a student, you're an intellectual, you're living a normal life. And here you just came across this article in the Western press and you have to correct these inaccuracies. And guess what? After this task is performed, and of course it is performed by these prisoners with a gun to their head, then it's like, all right, back to the prison camp to serve out the rest of your term. Now, you're lucky that we're not adding to your term, and that is a reward. So the reward that you get for playing your appropriate role is not that we shorten your term, is not that we let you out, it's not that we give you your freedom, it's that we agree not to give you 10 more years. We're not going to be adding to your sentence. So the lesson here is that socialist societies rely on, I think the phrase is the Potemkin village phenomenon. The Potemkin village is an artificial village. It's a scene that's not real. It's a facade. You see the front of a building, but if you went and peeked at the back, there's no building there. And so this is propaganda in the true sense of the term. The state has an objective. The police state has an objective. And even though you are at the receiving end of the police state, they still have enough control over you. After all, they can always make your life worse. So they can get you to dress up and comb your hair and behave yourself and even praise the very regime that is going to take you right back to prison once you've finished your press conference. You don't have to live with aches and pains. There is a better way. Debbie and I are proof of this. We started taking Relief Factor a couple of years ago, and we've seen a huge difference in our joints. Nothing short of amazing. Aches and pains are totally gone thanks to this 100% drug-free solution called Relief Factor. How does it work? Relief Factor supports your body's fight against inflammation. That's the source of aches and pains. More than 1 million people have tried Relief Factor. About 70% have gone on to order more, to become regular customers. Debbie's a true believer. She can now do exercises, push-ups, planks, and so on that for a long time she wasn't able to do. So Relief Factor has been a real game changer for her, her aunt, other members of our family, Mike here in the studio, and for many other people. You too can benefit. Try it for yourself. Order the 3-week quick start for the discounted price of just $19.95. Go to relieffactor.com or call 800-4-RELIEF to find out more about this offer. The number again to call, 800-4-RELIEF, or go to relieffactor.com. Feel the difference.